Hello, everyone, and welcome to Screenwalks. I'm John Uriarte at the Photographers Gallery in London, and together with Marco De Mutis, digital curator at Fotomuseum Winterthur in Switzerland, we have created this collaborative program of fortnightly live stream events. Through Screenwalks, we are interested in investigating the changing role of the photographic image in its network and digital forms. Each event is led by an artist, a researcher, or a curator who accompanies the audience to the spaces where their core artistic practice takes place. Screenworks can be a live performance, a peek behind the scenes of an artwork, or a guided online tour, among other possible formats. We have hosted more than 70 Screenworks so far. You can find video recordings of each of them on our website, on our YouTube channel, all publicly accessible for free, and you can also browse through this archive through tags on screenworks.com or through curated playlists on YouTube. Please remember if you have found Screenworks useful for your professional or personal interests, you can subscribe to folders. For €7, you will support the program and its artists, and also get your personalized folder on folders.screenworks.com. There you will receive files and extra content from the artists and researchers of Screenworks. And now some housekeeping information. Your microphone should be muted to avoid noise disturbances. If it's not, please mute it now. And we are recording and we will be archiving this event. So if you want to use also the public chat to ask any questions, feel free to use the public chat or to send a private message to Marco or to me.
And hello from my side too. I'm Marco De Mutis, digital curator at Fotomuseum Winterthur in Switzerland. Today, we are honored to host the world premiere of a live poem-based web performance by Yehwan Song. Screenwalks have hosted many inspiring performances that have seen artists interacting with the browser and the internet in different and unusual ways. Often these performances remain legendary in Screenwalks history. Alan Butler spent almost 8 hours role-playing photographer in the computer game Red Dead Redemption 2. Dina Kelberman once performed a Screenwalk by using only YouTube videos of ceiling fans. Laura Paloma took us through the most obscure Facebook group communities where users pretend to be ants or eggs. And most recently, Chia Amisola performed a browser performance where pop-up windows and live music gave rise to her notion of internet ambient. We are particularly happy to be able to provide a space that traditional museums and galleries do not even consider, and to be reminded that the internet still belongs to us. We, as artists, researchers, curators, or simply internet users, have the power to shape the experiences we have online. We are able to create spaces and communities outside of corporate social media platforms. And today, South Korean artist and designer Yehwan Song will invite us to reflect upon some of these ideas, and specifically upon private and public space in contemporary internet culture. Inspired by In Hung Choi's novel, The Square, the artist will employ the metaphor of the square without a private chamber to address how people are losing their private spaces, connections, handmade homepages, and intimate web rings, only to be filled with social media, giant search engines, and AI-based chat services over which they have no control or overview. Virtual voices emerging from the artist's performance will create a harmony that sings of their longing for a private space. The performance will act as a song for an ideal internet where private chambers and the square balance and complete each other. Song is a Korean-born, New York-based web artist challenging conventional digital spaces through non-user-centric, unconventional internet projects. Focused on the often overlooked discomfort of marginalized users, Song critiques the homogeneity of the web, advocating for diversity and inclusivity. By blending digital and physical mediums, ranging from unique web interfaces to physical installations, Song's works foster new user-device interactions and dialogues on the socio-political influences shaping today's templated internet landscape, emphasizing the importance of equitable online rights for users with diverse backgrounds. Dear Yehwan Song, Thanks so much for accepting our invitation and being with us here today. The screen is yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for having me. I'm super honored to be here. I have little more description about my work, and I wanna like share the inspiration and where this work coming from. But before that, I would love to start this presentation with the performance itself. The performance is interactive websites that interact with my mouth. So whenever I open my mouth, then it proceed with the voices, is proceed the poem that I wrote for this performance. And once I close my mouth, it goes to the other section of the poem. But it can be a little bit slow and it can be a little bit buggy. So that also is a part of like a web-based performance. So it would be fun as well to see that buggy part as well. So I'm just gonna share my screen first and start the performance. Let me open, sorry, the server first. Or I just need to reshare the screen.
Suddenly, one day, we all start wandering out into the square. We've lost our homes, home pages, privacy, ownerships, addresses, directions, and now we all wander out into the square.
One day, we all start wandering out into the square. We've lost our homes, home pages, privacy, ownerships, addresses, directions. And now, we all wander out into the square.
Suddenly, one day, we all start wandering out into the square. We've lost our homes, home pages, addresses,
privacy,
directions,
ownerships,
homes,
addresses,
home pages,
directions,
privacy, ownerships, addresses, directions, and now
we all wander out
into the
into the
square.
square.
All in the square. The square has no private room. The internet today has no private chamber. You can scroll down, but not scroll up. You can move
scroll
forward,
down,
but not move
scroll up.
back. You can
move
navigate,
forward,
but
but not
not
move back.
toward any destination. You
You
can
can scroll
stay,
down,
but there's
but
no
not
home.
scroll up.
You can
move
navigate,
forward,
you
but
can
not
navigate,
move back.
you can stay, but there's no home. Scroll up.
You can
move
share
forward,
only
but
without
not
sharing.
Move back. You
You
can
can
share
love,
only
but
without
not
sharing.
care.
You can love,
navigate,
but no
not toward any
partings.
destination.
You can
stay,
navigate, but
there's no
not
home.
toward any destination.
You
You
can
can
share
stay,
only without
there's no
sharing.
home.
You can love, but not care. You can navigate, but not toward any destination. You can love, but no partings.
There's
only
only
the
an
entrance,
entrance
with
with
no
no
exit.
exit.
Overlapping
Overlapping
echoes, without
without
origin.
origin.
You
You
are
are
free,
free.
without
Without
freedom.
freedom.
There are only
meetings,
no
but no
rest
partings.
partings.
There is only
constant
flow.
allows
rest.
no silence.
The noise is constant,
allows no silence. Voices
louder than truth. We are the bubble. We look and see the same. Want to be seen? We
look
might
and
see the same.
Want to be
Aggressive?
seen?
We will make you a star. Your voice will be justice. Your comment, generosity itself. Your comment take you down. In the square, we dance, blurred vision, blurred voices.
Thank you. I'm just gonna reshare the screen. I just close it because it gets really slow, but I'm just gonna reshare the screen and want to talk about like a general like behind story of it, but like it's gonna be really casual. So I've been thinking a lot about how the internet works, how we use the internet these days, which is very much focused on this like social media based platform, large platform based usage of the internet. And I found it like interesting, but at the same time a little bit frustrating that people are really rely on this automatic made like social media or like this fast made website that is hosted by larger companies. And I was like looking for the way that I can talk about those homepages that we used to have when there's like in the era of the early internet. So I've been like thinking about, social media is great. I love like communicating with people and sharing the ideas and thoughts, but at the same time, I want people and myself to secure my homepage. So there is like my own space and also the place where we can share the ideas and platforms. There were several different inspiration for me to like start working on this poem and performance. The inner choice novel, The Square, is the main reference, but I just want to share some other references that really inspired me. So I've been like looking into one of my friend Dante Young's websites, which sort of like make this website as his homepage. So once you enter the website, there's like a various introduction, such as this is my homepage. You need to take care of yourself. You need to be if I enter this page, there's like an introduction of his homepage, but you need to like take your shoes off before you enter the website, because this is my home, and you need to be careful and be mindful since I am living here. And also he mentioned this sentence that the contemporary internet is city only with the streets, and that really inspired me, that how people use the internet, they don't have their home, but they just have all the streets that people just wander around and share some ideas, but there's no origin and there's no destination. This lead me to think of this novel, In Hun Choi's novel named The Square, which is the novel that was written in 1960 in Korea, like during the Korean War. So right before the Korea was divided into North and the South, there were many people moving from South to North and North to South, depending on their political belief. And this is the novel that was written in that era. So this novel talks about the difference between North Korea's politics and South Korea's politics, which is very similar to what you can see these days as well too. But this writer used the square as a metaphor to talk about the North Korea, and the private chamber is as a metaphor to talk about South Korea, and says that the square is the place where people can gather and share ideas and wander around. Whereas the private chamber is more like a private room that they can have their own time and with their family. And I kind of feel like that's really similar to how I see the internet these days, you know. The square seems like the internet 3.1 3.0 that we have, you know, all this like a social media, that there's like a super many people like sharing ideas and super crowded, but this space is not theirs. It's kind of like run by these mega companies and they are just sharing the ideas, but those like ideas and voices are sort of controlled by these mega companies that like this invisible and fake algorithm based mega social medias. And also like they are sharing the ideas, but also they don't have that much control of this platform. So like once they scroll down, they cannot go back and read again the what they just read. So like there's no control over this social media platform. So that will really feel like it's very similar to the square that this novel describes. Whereas private chamber is more like a private space, which is like a private homepage that people are losing, but there were the era when everyone make their homepage and make some sort of like a small web ring kind of structure. So then they can kind of like share their homepage name so that, you know, they can invite people to their homepage. But there is huge limitation that they cannot share the idea as we do these days, because there's like a limitation of accessibility. And this novel says that it's important to have the balance between the square and the private chamber. So we need a square to talk about our ideas and share our ideas, but also we need to secure our private chamber. So then the private chamber make the square as a perfect square, and the square makes a private chamber as a perfect private chamber, if that makes sense. And I found it very interesting, and I wanted to use this metaphor to write the poem and describe the current internet. This is the poem, or the current internet is not, this is not very much about, you know, the current internet is North Korea, or the, you know, the past internet is South Korea, or either. It's not really about the politics, but it's more about this metaphor really like fit with this current contemporary internet that we use these days. And like coming from this, the square, which was the inspiration and metaphor of this novel, I kind of like felt like this, the square is the place where, you know, lots of protests is happening. I am based in New York, and I was able to see so many protests these days in this like a public space. And I wanted to bring this vibe as well too. Like whenever I talk about, you know, the internet, it has this sort of issue, problem, we need to fix it. Then the returning question is like, how do you think that we can fix it? Because like it already was conquered by these mega companies. And I was like, you know, the public power of like these individual voices and these like public voices is stronger than these mega companies, that I believe. As Square has been that space that collects all the voices, I want this square that I'm using as a metaphor can be considered as like you know, this space that, you know, collective voices can talk about their wish, their imagination, or their wish for the future internet, if that makes sense. So that was another like bubble of inspiration that affects me to write this poem. This is just like one of the song written in Korean, but really like shows this like a protest sort of vibe. So this is the poem that I wrote. I wrote and I asked my friend of mine who's a writer to like go through and edit some part of it. I'm just gonna reread this poem. I just use it like an AI voice because I wanted to bring this collective voice vibe, but also, you know, I have like a very strong accent as well too. But I'm just gonna read it again since it could have been a little confusing in the performance. Suddenly, one day, we all start wandering out into the square. We've lost our homes, home pages, privacy, ownerships, addresses, directions, and now we all wander out into the square. All in the square. The square has no private room. The internet today has no private chamber. We can scroll down, but not scroll up. We can move forward, but not move back. You can navigate, but not toward any destination. There's only the entrance with no exit. Overlapping echoes without origin. You are free without freedom. You can stay, but there's no home. You can share only without sharing. You can love, but not care. There are meetings, but no partings. There's only flow, but no rest. The noise constant allows no silence. There are answers everywhere, but no questions. Voices louder than truth. We are the bubble. We look and see the same. Want to be seen? Be spicy. Be aggressive. We will make you a star. Your voice will be justice. Your comment, generosity itself. Until we take you down. In the square, we dance. Blurred vision, blurred voices. So like that, this poem sort of like contains the stuff that I just explained. This like algorithm-based social media's control over our voice, and also like this culture of like making popular stars in the social media instead of like making a community, and kind of like control over that popular stars, I would say, so that they are just took down based on the algorithm, or they became like a star if their contents or supported by the algorithm, I would say. And also, you know, all this kind of like a super confusing environment where you see so many stuffs, but you don't really digest any of those stuff, and you cannot go back to what you just saw. It's kind of like all the noises and echoes without origin, and all the wanderings without the destination. Just like a technical add explanation of this work. This one uses like a AI voices. Again, I just wanted to bring this like a collective vibe, and also like different voices that talk about the same thing. And also uses like an AI mouth tracker that's kind of like tracking my mouth. So it's some website that is interacting based on my mouth. So I am the speaker, but also I am part of these voices. So I am becoming anonymous, but also the one that is supporting this voice. That is what I wanted to bring in this performance. I'm not sure. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for sharing this performance and this piece for the first time with us. Yeah, and also to take us a little bit through some of the ideas behind the piece. I was wondering if maybe you want to say something a little bit also about your extended practice before we go more into the question, because I think you have also so many projects that connect well to these ideas of you know, kind of reclaiming the browser, reclaiming the internet. I thought it would be nice to maybe just give an overview, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. I usually work a lot with this like internet. Not only just the internet, but also I'm really fascinated in this fact that individuals have different experience with the internet, and there are so many differences between depending on those nationality, the language that they use, or the culture or the country that they are coming from, and then those countries like politics or policies, and like, you know, individuals have so many different experience with, and interaction with the internet, but how the internet is kind of like marketized or portrayed these days is like, this is like a free, you know, space that you can connect all the people around the world, and you have this like a bare space that you can share your thoughts and stuff. But like as a person who's coming from like a country that is not using English as a first language or not using Latin language, there is like a lot of barriers to access the internet and stuff like that. And that was like really a trigger for me to talk about, you know, how the internet has been marketized, and what we need to really see what is really happening in the internet. We need to rethink about how to use the internet instead of like just following this like a tech utopian, you know, ideas and thoughts and marketized internet environments. So I've been interested in this sort of like a digital colonization, you know, expansionist ideology, and also like tech utopianism, and also Korean and Asian internet that is super different from West internet, I would say. And also, you know, and also like through my work, I wanted to bring this like public voice to resist these like mega companies for this sort of like a marketized image of the internet, and talk about how should we bring the internet that is public internet, that we can secure our own information, privacy, and also we are the owner of the internet. So that's something that I want to bring from my work, and you know, this work, this performance is part of that sort of like a larger theme.
Thank you from my side too for your wonderful performance and for premiering your latest work with us. And following on what you were talking about right now, and on something that you mentioned earlier, you made this sort of like relationship between the private chamber and the square. And on Skinwalks recently, we had a few people showing us, we can say, like different private chambers, like people who has created their own websites, and people who are crafting their own websites. But I guess that the tricky part is to sort of like how to reclaim the square, you know? How to create a place where to meet beyond these large corporations that you were mentioning before. I mean, we'll have maybe the example of Mastodon, but I was curious to know your opinion, not only on Mastodon, and also like on how to think on alternatives, like social media alternatives or places where to meet on the internet that are not created by these huge companies.
I would say, I think the first thing that we need to do is making our private chamber, to be honest, because like that's what we really lost. And how, you know, if you imagine how the city are building, you know, you need to secure our own places to become, to share some ideas, you know, in the square. So I would say, like, I think the priority is making their homepage or having their own private chamber. The alternative social media is a really good question, and that is a huge question that I always have as well too. I personally don't think that should happen. That should always happen in the online space. I just wanted to bring this vibe of we need to like recreate. We need to be an owner of the internet, collectively. So that which is missing in this era of the contemporary internet. So that was kind of like the square doesn't really necessarily means that, you know, there should be you know, space, online digital space or alternative social media to share some ideas. But I just wanted to bring this collective voice where people can talk about and rethink about the internet. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't found like an exact answer for the alternative social media. To be honest, I think, but what I think really important is that I would say, people can disagree, but I would say the World Wide Web, or this ideal utopian world that we can connect the people around the world, is fake, and we cannot, that's eventually impossible. We should like aware of that. There can be like alternative, lots of different alternative social media, but none of them could be like perfect alternative social media. But we should aware that, you know, in any places there should be someone who's not accessible compared to the others. And, you know, when we are using some sort of like specific social media, we should aware that this is voices coming from this community, but not coming from all around the world. Not sure if that makes sense, to be honest, but yeah.
That's super interesting. I was also thinking, like the images and how you treated somehow all of these like social media in the performances as they kind of like circle through and becomes these textures that yeah, like almost like carpets of this like cubes and spaces.
Right.
Reminded me of this idea of context collapse, right? This idea that now also in the performance, like this cacophony of voices and these images that appear on the network collapse the context, and there is this theory or like this discourse about how the promise of what you said, like this kind of fake promise of the internet, social media, is actually proving the opposite, right? Like all of this context get lost. It gives us the idea of being more engaged, but because I see a cat followed by a political riot, all of this kind of gets lost. I was wondering if, because you mentioned the difference in the internet, maybe in South Korea and Asian kinds of internet, if you could tell us a little bit more about that context and how do you see these differences? If there's something, fundamental in the way that internet spaces are created or allowed by like Naver rather than Google or Samsung, or if the corporations are very different in
Yeah. Like I kind of like found it first what really triggered me was that I kind of found it very fascinating to see how people make their account in Korea, because like you cannot use Korean to make an account, like an Instagram account or email account, or you can actually use it but no one really use it because like it gets slower or buggy. So like they ended up like typing Korean but use English. So it kind of like a broken or like a random mixture of the characters, Latin characters, to make an account. And that was like when I'm like looking at that, since because of that, when we are sharing the account, we cannot actually read the account, but we are just sharing the alphabet like D, F, G, H, things like that. And that was like a sort of like a trigger for me that, like, oh, like we cannot use our own name when we are in the internet because it's coming from the Western. And, like that's really thinking about these barriers for us to use the internet. All these different countries have different politics and different policies. And, India has like a very different internet policy. China has very restricted internet policy, things like that. And like looking at, and also like Korea, as you mentioned, Naver is like a different platform. And people tend to use more Naver than the Google, and it has like a different aesthetics and design and stuff like that, based on what Korean prefers. So Naver has been like mimic the Google's design, and that didn't work because like Korean doesn't really like this sort of like a simple design and stuff like that. And looking at that sort of like a differences and how people like say like Googling, or Google is like it is a largest search engine, but Google is the answer. And when you share ideas in Google, then that means that you are sharing ideas or on the word, that sort of like feel like make me sort of isolated, and also feel like that is not true. If I go to that country, then I ended up using a different platform if you're an Asian country, and things like that. And I think those are more like differences that I experienced it. Unfortunately, many of those platforms are is not being used recently because of those like mega companies or those mega social media is becoming popular, and people are looking for more audiences. And people are aware that if you become like a YouTube star, then you can get more money and stuff like that. So it's more like a commercial space these days, and that ended up like killing these local platforms. So it first killed like individual homepages, and now it's killed like a local website as well too, which is really frustrating. Yeah, but I don't know. I think I need to talk about it first. I cannot share some answers. I don't know the answer and I'm trying to find it, but it's just really frustrating to see how naive people get when it comes to internet and when it comes to like social media. And it is a very confusing place. You cannot really tell who you are talking with and which social bubble you are in.
Just following up a little bit on what you explained now, is there any like public support to like from Korean government in order to develop some sort of like a Korean internet? I'm asking this because I'm based in the Basque Country in Spain, and there's something that they are trying to do here. Basque is a bit tiny, like not so many people speaks Basque, so they are trying. The Basque government is trying to push for that. I was wondering if there's any like political initiative on that way.
I would say, I think the best example of resisting Western internet or expansion of the Western internet is India case, that when Facebook tried to reach out to them and make this like an internet which is called free basis, and give them like a free internet, but those internet is the internet that you can only access those Facebook related pages much faster than the others, eventually make people to go to social media or meta related website easier than the other website, and eventually make younger generation believe that the internet is a Facebook, for example. Korea doesn't have that good example politically. Korea doesn't really resist whatever the United States does. But like there has been lots of struggles for Koreans that they cannot, since Korean government just like have keep doing this like a naive policy in terms of like Apple or Western companies. Korean companies are really struggling, and there has been many voices coming from startups and individual independent developers that they cannot secure their application that they developed because there's no Korean independent platform that they can share their applications and websites and stuff like that. So I would say Koreans are more struggling at this point.
And then going back to images, I'm not sure if you will agree, but I have the feeling that in your work many times like the images work sort of like a let's call them operational if you want to, but like triggers, like tools to activate the websites themselves. Would you agree with this idea? Like the image is not so much a representational image, but more of like a tool to activate the website?
Yeah, it is. I don't know, like it might be coming from how I use the image in general. And also like coming from the background that I'm coming from like graphic design background, and it's more like, working with the layouts, and images are just an asset on the top of the layouts and stuff like that. So that probably is the way I deal with the image and usually the content as well too.
Right, like the interface really kind of bring you bring it to the front, right, in so many of your projects. And so we're bombarding you with questions.
Yeah, we invite our audience like to also send any question that you might have on the chat. Meanwhile, Marco and I will continue.
Yeah, no, but I was really wondering also if, because I think what is particularly interesting to me of your practice is also that it's at the same time disruptive of the ways in which we are trained and used to kind of, like the normativity of the internet that you described in the kind of like Western concept, and that how it arises in the last couple of decades. But on the other hand, they're like very seductive, no? Like there's something that it make me really want to click or try these different interactions. So it's very special in a way. It feels like you're really kind of trying to get people in and then twist the way that they deal with the browser and the web pages. I think in this case, of course, this was a performance that you performed yourself. I don't know if you already said if you plan to have this website then also available for the public, but maybe you can tell a little bit about these ideas. How do how do you work with the user, the perspective, the expectation of the users, and how does that play a role in your practice?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, I am thinking of launching this website. I was like, I really wish that I can do this before the performance, so then I can start the performance with sharing the link of the website. But I wasn't usually, this is just how it works. I wasn't able to finish it now, so I'm gonna share it later on the social media and other websites on my website as well too. But yeah, I think I'm not, I would say like performance is like right term to describe other works as well too. I think I am making some I think I am making some voices of using the internet or the website in a different way, but I'm not like showing some solutions or the future of the internet should be like this or the future of the internet should be like that. But like here's a like weird person using the internet in a weird way. And like those sort of like a weirdness or like using the internet in a different way is very natural voice, I would say. Like as we can see, like physical world, we are all different. We should have different way of like interacting with the internet, interacting with the websites. And I'm just trying to break that boundary. And in order to break it, I'm trying to like make it like little too far or a little too hard to like interact with the website, so then people can rethink about the internet. But I would say it's more like an voice and also sort of like a suggestion to like just a bigger theme is more like you need to think and use the internet. You need to try to use the internet in a different way. And I'm just like performing some sort of example, but that is not the solution of it. I'm not sure if that answers the question, to be honest.
Sure.
Um,
We're asking the tough questions, don't worry.
yeah, I was also thinking that again, we've recently have a few people looking into like creating their own websites, and there seems to be like quite a lot of people thinking about this and like working on their own, like making their own websites. What do you think has triggered all this like need of creating like sort of reclaiming the website, reclaiming the browser, and creating your own digital and online spaces? Is it related somehow to the pandemic and to being like in lockdown, or?
I think it's for sure pandemic kind of like triggers us to move to this online space more. Like made us faster to move to this online space. So like after the pandemic, it's sort of like a casual thing to have a meeting in a Zoom, for example. But I would say like I don't know, like that I would say that it's like an idea that I already have in my mind. And also sort of like I would say it's more about the recent issues that is happening in the social media after this like political conflicts, how those voices are controlled depending on the countries. And also this AI ChatGPT sort of like AI bots are sort of like pretend as if it's making a one solid voice, but depending on which country you are searching, even though you are searching the same question, you receive the different answers. So like it's more confusing than, for example, like Reddit, which is much more obvious. There are different users and they have like a different voices. So like more like those like recent issues really triggered me to like work harder.
But that's interesting also, like maybe it's also a question for John. Now we can do like a because John, you seem to imply that there's like a internet reclamation renaissance somehow. No, you're seeing this as like a moment in time in which and I wonder if it's because of our Screenbox bubble or art bubble, or like
we train our algorithm towards
yeah.
that, so I guess it's part of that. Yeah, but I think, I mean, I think it's a mix of many things. No? Like I do feel that there's some sort of like a need of creating your own space going on. I mean, of course, I don't have like I cannot see the whole internet, but I do feel about that. And
No, but I agree with you, and I think I just wonder if it's because we are hopeful, and that's also a little bit of wishful thinking, or
definitely.
because you could also argue the opposite, that social media have become like so omnipresent that it's becoming more and more something that people are getting trapped in. So I don't know. Yeah, I was just like wondering. It is true that I'm thinking on Screenwalk we also had I'm thinking of Beck Haberstroh was doing this speculative work about co-ops when it comes to AI and data ownership and all of that. I think yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, but like I do agree with the fact that we are in a very interesting era. For sure, I want to keep myself positive, and I am hopeful. That is the reason why I'm continuously working on that, because like I think that I and people can make a change. This is very confusing era, and like internet, the way people use the internet is like changing a lot, and I think this point it's very important to make a right direction. And I think for sure like these environments like invisually or visually drive me to have more interest in the internet because I can see that we can make a change and make an impact in this field. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I mean, with these tools, I guess that I'm not sure how like deep, but you do have the feeling when like creating your own website of regaining certain agency on the internet, no, like being able to like creating your own space and also like thinking on how to relate to others to sort of like reclaiming that agency that has been lost, or has at least we felt lost mostly on social media platforms. So yeah, no, I completely share your your hope and like your optimism, and especially given like the very tough and complicated and complex times that we are living today. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that also, like, I feel that you align very much also with the spirit of what we're trying to do at Screenwalks. And I think
Right.
what was interesting for us to see was that there is, it's not just nostalgia, because many times, like there's also this idea that people might perceive like this nostalgia of the net art of the 90s. But yeah, it feels like, this is different, and there is also something that feels very contemporary about it. And I love also that you're really kind of engaging proactively with this kind of tools that, yeah, it feels like it's something that it's particularly also needed. So yeah, no, just not a question, I guess. It's just
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I really strongly agree with this that this is not about nostalgia. This is not about past internet. This is what is happening right now, and this is what we are trying to, the change that we are trying to make is about right now, what is happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just reading. There are a few comments. Well, Maya, by the way, hi Maya. Says
very
that
nice.
agrees what we were talking just recently. Okay, I think that we have
We
like
have to let her go, John. We can't keep
yeah.
forever.
Enough. Yeah. Thank you so much for premiering your latest work with us. It's been amazing. It's been great to have you, and also for replying all our questions.
Yeah,
And
so we'll be waiting for the release of the final
yeah,
so that we can experience it, and then let us know. Yeah, of course we'll follow it. We'll follow you, but we'll also share it through our channels. So yeah, just keep us posted. And we are going to be back in 2 weeks.
yes, with Felipe Rivas and Martin.
Chile.
Yeah, we will have the next Skinwalk on the 20th of March. So please come by in 2 weeks. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much.